All right, this is going to be our third series of Walking New York. Robin, what are we doing today?
We're going to do the financial district today, and I think a lot of New York started there, so we'll see. But we're going to hop on the train and get off at Chamber Street and then walk to Rector's, and it starts at Bowling Green, and we'll tell you more about Bowling Green when we get there.
Yeah, we're up on the Upper West Side, so we have to take the subway to get there. So let's go.
Can you point to a pair that would be stylish and light? Yeah, is that woman?
Definitely woman. Has that cat thing on the
What? They make you look sad? Really?
All right, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks. One more. You didn't like any of those?
Didn't grab me.
Well, you got to get some because you got to protect your eyes, you know.
Right.
Right? All right, so we're in Tribeca, and we're going to walk about 20 minutes, I guess, to the financial district. So you can take a train all the way down to the financial district, but because it's such a beautiful day out, and we didn't feel like changing, we're on the express train, you have to take a local train to get to where we're going, we decided to just jump off at the closest express train stop and then take a nice walk in this beautiful day. And if you see these signs around the town, it means that they're filming shows around here. So like that one was Law and Order, but all these different TV shows actually are set here in New York, so they do a lot of filming here. So they have put their signs up to close the street off so they can, people can't park there, and then they can actually bring the trucks in with the actors and all the cameras and all that kind of stuff so they can do the filming. And the cool thing is you can actually watch them film it when they're doing it. Just on the way, to point it out, that's World Trade One or Freedom Tower. There's the Wall Street Bull and a huge line. Bowling Green. All right, this is the starting point. So on not nicer days, you can take the subway directly right here at the start. All right, there's the chapter we're going through.
It was here that George Washington was sworn in as the nation's first president in 1789.
And this was founded by the Dutch, I guess it was, in the 1620s?
Right.
Awesome. And that's the customs house. So one of the cool things, this wasn't called New York when it first was established. It was New Netherlands, I guess.
And then New Amsterdam.
New Amsterdam.
Then when the British took it over, they named it New York.
Which is what it is today.
And then the Dutch had it for 1 year, and they called it New Orange.
Well, I wonder what the orange has to do with being Dutch, but it must have something to do with it. And then they changed it. The British got it back, and now it's called New York instead. And one of the funny things you were mentioning, there was a statue here of King George back in the 1700s.
Right.
And it was later melted down and made into musket balls
right.
that were used against the British.
Right.
I mean, if that isn't irony, I don't know what is.
Right. For a very brief time, New York was the nation's capital from 1785 to 1790.
Wow. And then it was moved to Washington, or was it somewhere
so.
else?
I don't know.
Washington, D.C. So the custom house behind me was actually knocked down in the 1800s, but then rebuilt in 1902, as you can see it. That was a rebuild from the original one. So we're not going to bore you with all the history of that building because there's a ton of it. But if you want to know more, you can always Google it, or you can get the book Walking New York and read that chapter. It's chapter 1, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. right, we're on the corner of Broad Street and Bridge Street.
So we're on Broad Street right now, and streets were literally named for what they were. So when the Dutch owned this area, this was actually a canal. They filled it with water so that boats could come directly into the heart of the city. But then when the British came, it became a dumping ground and they buried it. But Chris will show you how wide the street is. So that's why it's named Broad Street. There are other streets around here like Maiden Lane, because the women used to wash their clothes and on that street. Stone Street, because it was the first street paved with stones.
They're very creative with the names.
Very literal with the names. Yeah. There's Pearl Street because it was the oyster shell covered riverfront, and so on.
Okay. And here you can see how wide it is. Or I should say broad. So over there on the corner of Broad and Pearl Street, that's the famous Fraunces Tavern. And George Washington actually had a dinner party there back in the day. It actually would be like a hangout for people who were like rebels or people who didn't like the British government. And they would go hang out here and complain about it before they actually did something about it. And the tavern was almost destroyed back a while ago. And then when Delancey first built it, it actually looked different than that. And so what they did is in the early 1900s, they actually rebuilt this.
So since they didn't have any pictures and no one really knew what the original building looked like, this is what it looks like today. And it's probably nothing like the original building.
There's a little plaque on the wall. You can always stop the video if you want. And you can read this stuff. They actually have live music here every night. Okay. It's like a little tavern. Yeah.
Sure. Through this hallway you can see the bar area and just to take a look at the whole building.
Okay, great. Thank you.
A museum is upstairs, but they sell tickets up there.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Does look old-fashioned, even though it was rebuilt. Wow, it's big. You get out here. Looked kind of old-fashioned in there, didn't it?
That's very cool.
Yeah, it was. We're gonna go try to find some lunch here. You can see there's a lot of little restaurants and stuff around here, so it's a pretty cool little area. You see, the street is made out of stone. Stone Street's kind of small, so we're gonna look a little bit around here outside of Stone Street to see if we can find something for lunch. So this is Mill Lane, and it's like the smallest street in Manhattan, and it was named that way because it used to lead to a mill. This is Delmonico's restaurant, which is a legendary restaurant. Delmonico's also has a very strange, because you don't see it often, it's a 5-lane intersection, and so you don't see that often, but you wanted to say something about it too?
Yeah, it's a 5-way intersection that's actually forbidden in the city because the city, as you know, is on a grid system. So having a 5-way intersection is forbidden, but it's the only one here.
And Delmonico's was first opened in 1827, but it's burned down and it's been redone. So it probably doesn't look exactly the way it did back in the day, but the business has been there since 1827. And that is Wall Street. It's the Bank of New York building. So on the corner of Broad and Wall Street is the New York Stock Exchange. So we actually found some vegan sandwiches at Pret a Manger, which means, what does it mean again? Ready to eat. Anyway, we're ready to eat. All right, that was a nice lunch.
Yep.
And now we're heading back to Wall Street. See, that looks like the security tent to the New York Stock Exchange.
This is all part of Broad Street, and we told you earlier it was a river at one time, and here we are again, right in front of the Stock Exchange.
A company that has an office here. So their company works here. And their company's probably having a dinner tonight. So they invite them in. But we still do background investigations before we admit them in.
Really?
Everybody comes in.
Wow. What about people? I know people like when their company rings the bell in the morning, they do background investigations. All those people.
Everybody, all the security guys that work here are retired cops. And like I'm a detective sergeant, was a detective sergeant. So all these guys know how to do checks and everything. So they all. It would be hard to get in here to do something that is undesirable for us.
Well, let's say that's a good thing. that's a good thing.
This is the number 2 target in our country.
Oh, really? What's the number one?
White House?
And it's not even that we don't have a backup system. We have a backup system somewhere else. It's just that if you opened up a newspaper in Berlin or London or any capital and it said New York Stock Exchange bombed, the world economy would go down. We really want to see something cool.
Yeah.
If you go to this corner and you make a right, right here on your right, on the other side of the train station, you look against the wall. This is the old JP Morgan building.
Bullet holes.
You see the building?
Just read about it. That's where we're going right now.
And what happened was, at the turn of the century, a horse and buggy came with 2 guys in it, put the horse and buggy over there, and then it exploded, killed 50 some odd people.
Oh, that's what you were reading about, yeah, the bomb.
The evidence they found were the hoofs of the horse in front of Trinity Church.
Really?
And they never solved that. That's not much. Look at me in, that's me.
Oh, wow. What were you doing?
But that's when I was in the comics.
You know, it reminds me of
Buying
that.
Joie.
There's an old show called The Mod Squad. It's good.
So your name's Fred?
Fred, yeah.
Fred. Fred or Freddie? What'd you say?
Most of my friends call me Freddie, and people here call me Fred, and I won't tell you what my wife calls me.
Full etchings on the street here. So that statue of George Washington on that building, on the corner of Broad and Wall Street, that's where President Washington was first inaugurated as president. Now, I think it was up on one floor, though. It wasn't exactly where the statue is, but it was in that building when he was inaugurated, the very first president of the United States. This is the J.P. Morgan building.
So all these marks on the wall, these pock marks, they're actually holes from when a bomb went off. A horse and carriage pulled up, and bomb went off, and about 50 people ended up dying. And the only evidence they have are hooves from the horse that they found by Trinity Church, which is up here, which we'll show you in a minute. But these are holes from the bomb.
And you can see how big this hole by itself is, so it was a pretty big explosion. So that's Trinity Church in front of us. Obviously a very famous church, and actually was in that National Treasure movie, this is where the treasure was buried, was underneath this church. This is at the corner of Wall and Broadway.
So the watch?
For you Hamilton fans, Alexander Hamilton is buried here. It's a graveyard. And this is where Alexander Hamilton is actually buried, right there. This is Eliza, his wife, where she's buried. Right next to him. Thames is one of the shortest, narrowest, and darkest streets in all of Manhattan. So one of the reasons why that's so dark, as you can see, the skyscrapers are built in the early 1900s right next to each other, and it just cuts out all the sun, so you really don't get any sun. And it just was the start of the whole thing about where skyscrapers are starting to become popular, and the population density was getting huge here. So almost got hit by a bus. But anyway, just wanted to say that.
So before they changed the zoning laws, the Equitable Building went up, and it's 550 feet tall, and it has 1 million square feet of space inside. And this building has the biggest impact on the New York City landscape now, because they created zoning laws because of this, that to build a skyscraper it has to be set back a certain amount of space so it doesn't shadow everything.
Just showing some cool looking artwork over here. This is called Radio Row and has all this old analog equipment in here that kind of died out in 2008, obviously with computers and digital technology. And you can read a little bit about it right here if you want to stop the video and take a look. We just crossed Nassau Street, and now we're in Fosun Plaza.
So we're at 28 Liberty Street, and in 1955, the Bank of Manhattan merged with Chase, and they wanted to build a big building, but because of the 1916 law, zoning law, that the Equitable Building caused, you know, they weren't allowed to build it so high. But they agreed to just use, they bought like 4 square blocks, and they agreed to just use 25% of the space and leave the rest of it public. So the new zoning law is that you could build a size skyscraper, because this is 800 feet high, if you designate area to public spaces. So there's a lot of public spaces in the city now, so that they can build skyscrapers.
And in this little plaza, you got the Federal Reserve Building right there. So this building was built between 1924 and 1935, and it was tied to the Federal Reserve, which was created in 1913. And there's more gold bars in this building than any other building on Earth.
So you saw a lot of plaques in the ground that Chris videoed earlier, and each one commemorates a Tickertape parade that happened down here in Lower Manhattan, and it still happens to today.
Yeah, I guess they're still making Tickertape. Who are your friends, Robin?
It's the Wild Table of Love, actually.
Ah,
And there are all these lovely animals here.
pretty cool. We're gonna see these guys when we're in Africa. All right, Robin, I guess we gotta leave our friends. What do you think?
See you guys.
See you guys. We'll catch you later. Maiden Lane. It's called Maiden Lane because that's where the ladies used to wash the clothes. Oops, almost killed myself. St. Paul's Chapel. So what's special about this church?
Now, so far, all I know, it's the oldest church building.
So built in the 1700s, George Washington actually went to this church, but it's part of Trinity Church. It's only a couple of blocks away. So, pretty cool. This looks like one big gravestone. And right behind the church is World Trade One, or Freedom Tower. Not the Liberty Bell, but the Bell of Hope. All right, we just entered City Hall Park, and we're going to take a look around.
3 buildings serve as the City Hall.
So that's City Hall, and when the Declaration was signed, the Declaration of Independence, it was actually brought here. So this is Park Row. It used to be Newspaper Row because all the reporters were here. And this is where they would get the information to where they needed to get to. But but with technology and all that, they didn't have to be all in one place, and so the things moved and the buildings moved. I can't remember the actual. What was the name of
The Herald moved into 36th Street and that's where Herald Square is. The New York Times moved to 42nd Street, and that's Times Square.
Right, exactly. So, but this is where it all started. University is here. This is the Titanic Memorial Lighthouse. And this memorial lighthouse was built in 1913.
Prior to 1883, there were no such thing as time zones, so each port had their own time. A city would pick their own time. So when a boat would come in, there would be a time ball at their port, and there used to be a time ball up there. And every day at noon it would lower, so the seamen knew when it was noon. And today that tradition still happens at Times Square when they lower the ball every December 31st at midnight.
So Fulton Street is named after Robert Fulton, who actually had steam-powered ferries out here in the water. All right, so we made it to the water, and over there is Brooklyn, so you can always take a ferry over there or a subway. Let me show it to you. All right, so we're done. What'd you think?
Yeah, it was good. We learned a lot. Brought us to an area of town we don't normally come to. And so I hope you learn a lot.
Yeah, I think these walks are great. I think that the only thing, my observation after doing 4 of these or 3 of these, is that they say it only takes 2 hours typically. But I think it's closer to 3.5 or 4, unless we're just really slow walkers. But
It says 2 to 3 hours actually.
and it's more like 3 to 4, I think.
It's 2 miles.
Yeah. So anyway, because it's not just walking the 2 miles; it's also reading everything, and there's a lot of stuff to read. And I know you do all the reading, and it's just it just takes time to look at the places too. You're not just blowing by them. So I would allocate like more to 3 to 4 hours instead of 2 to 3. Anyway, that's just my observation. Thanks so much for watching, and if you like the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you ring the bell too, so you'll be notified every time I drop a video. I drop videos every week, and if you know anyone who can use videos like this, make sure you share it with them. And if you have any comments, questions, if you have any places that you'd like us to go check out and vlog, leave that in the comments. And 2 videos are going to pop up any moment, and you can click on any of those videos and continue your healthy, happy living journey. I can barely talk. And I will see you all next time.